Hey there, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. That's what it looks like if you haven't seen it before. Happy St. Patrick's Day, wherever you might be in the States. March, hey, it's springtime. Just had the daylight savings time. Clocks had to, spring forward, winter back, and all that stuff. But I guess Congress just passed the bill, so you don't have to. Actually, in 2023, you won't have to change your clocks. Got to change them one more time. So that's a good thing. Winter days a little more brighter, summer a little less. But hey, you know what? It's a good thing. So, once again, happy St. Patrick's Day. It's Thursday. It's a beautiful day down here in Atlanta. I think it's almost 75 degrees, no heat, but the pollen's coming in. So hopefully I don't have any pollen on me. It's covering everything. Everything's starting to bloom. All in all, hey, first Q1 is ending in 2022. It's been an amazing year. So many people are busy. Everybody's hiring. Can't find anybody, but everybody's hiring. Projects are just going all over the country. And it's an exciting time to be in construction, facilities, real estate, in commercial. So I hope everybody's going to end the weekend on a positive note, and we'll go into Q2 at the end of the month very on a positive note. So today I have a gentleman out of the Big Apple. His name is Vinod Palal, excuse me. And he's with Goldman Copeland. They're an MEP firm out of New York City. And the reason I had Vinod on was because everybody, with gas prices, getting spiked, electric vehicles are a big thing. And this is what kind of one of their specialties is. So Vinod, say hello to all of our listeners out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk land.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing?
And we were talking earlier, but it's raining in New York on St. Patrick's Day, right?
It's raining in St. Patrick's Day.
But
people are out there. It has not stopped.
So it's a positive note, correct?
It has not stopped. I was walking down around lunchtime. All I see is green everywhere. People making their way to Fifth Avenue to get ready for the parade and have a party. And I'm sure in about an hour, the bars will be overflowing with folks.
With green beer.
Absolutely, you know it.
Yeah. So, well, welcome to our show. And the way it works is we do it in 3 parts. You got to tell your story, then we'll kind of talk about coming out of the pandemic and any new things that you've going on, and then we'll finish up. So, with that said, you got to tell me, where you grew up, you got any brothers or sisters, where you went to school, you play any sports, and how you ended up, what you're doing now. So, tell us your saga.
Well, it's not much of a saga. I don't want to call it a saga, but I was born and raised here in New York, in just outside of the Big Apple. I did my my schooling in the University of Hartford, where I got my electrical engineering degree. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New York, and prior to coming here to Goldman Copeland, I was actually working as a contractor. I was on the contracting side for a little bit, worked for an electrical contractor for a number of years, and then I transitioned over to the design side. So got the feel of the both sides of that spectrum, working in design as well as in construction. So, you could draw it on paper and see how it comes to fruition, which is, proved to be an invaluable skill set, as you on both sides of the equation, as you're working with projects and working with ownership as well as you build things. I still live here in New York. I'm just outside in the suburbs of New York with my family, and I'm just my mom and my brother, really the only folks I have close by, and the rest of my family are scattered about, on the West Coast in Canada, and I've got a lot of folks back home in India too. So that's the quick rundown of me in a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah. When you were at Hartford, were the Hartford Whalers still there, or were they gone?
Yes. Yes, they were.
Yeah.
Hartford Whalers were still there. It was
I'm
they
a
were at the
hockey guy.
Civic
Well, I got the
Center.
lacrosse stuff on there, but I'm a hockey guy. So,
Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
Hartford
yeah.
Whalers, you're giving your age away if if they were still there, So,
Yeah, yeah, definitely not anymore. But yeah, but I mean, oh, they were a staple of Hartford and New England. I guess in the general. Well, I mean, Boston. The Bruins kind of have Boston pretty much, but I mean, in Hartford, it was a prideful thing there for them. And a lot of folks. I've never actually gone down. I got to say, I never went down to a game, but
yeah.
a lot of my friends, big hockey fans, have gone down there, spent many a time down at the Civic Center watching the games.
Oh, yeah. Well, my sister,
So,
she went to University of Hartford, so
oh, nice.
we're probably close in age. So she was there, and but one of my teammates, Kevin Sedin, and he played for I went to University of Denver. Anyway, he played for the Whalers, and before they got moved and so forth. But it's nice to know that you were actually there when they were. Skating on the frozen pond at the Civic Center there. So,
yeah. No, it was a great time. I mean, I was getting out of being in New York the whole time. I figure, and my advice to every kid who's finishing high school and about to like transition into that like coming of age time is to get out of, move out of, not as far away as possible, but get away. My threshold was about 2 hours, was like away from home. So that way it's far enough I'm away from home, but like close enough if I needed to get back, I could.
Yeah,
right?
you can hit the train and be there or whatever.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Just pick up the phone. Can you come pick me up? So, but you were, you had your separation, so you could, come about and do your thing and kind of grow up as a young adult in a sense. So it's big. I thought it was a big important thing, for me. And I tell that to, folks I mentor and and kids that I say coming up in high school, best thing to do is just get out there and see a little bit of the world while you can.
I grew up in the city. We had our apartment on 75th and 3rd, and my parents are in furniture, and we had our showroom down on 32nd and Lex. And so I still have a lot of buds that are still in New York City, or maybe across the river in Hoboken or out in the island or Westchester. And so I have fond memories of New York, and it's changed, but it's still, if you're from there, you grew up there. I went to PS 158, down on 80th in New York, and when I was young, and so I'm a New Yorker at heart.
Yeah.
My mom was from Philly, my dad was from New York, so I got the best of both worlds. I went to prep school in New Jersey, so it.
No, it's good. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an experience being here in the city. It really is like nothing else than anywhere else in the world. And, and I've done work around the country and around the world and, in my 20 plus years working, in engineering. And, cities have their own little nuances for sure. But I mean, New York just has that very unique culture that's kind of built in and bred in with like the character of the people, the pace of the city, and the type of the work that you do. It's it's not like anything else anywhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. So let's talk about over the last couple of years, the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The bug hit the shores March of 2020.
March 2020. Yeah.
Second week, March Madness got canceled. Everything, no one knew it was maybe it was gonna be 3 weeks, maybe it was gonna be a month. Now it's 2 years. Now everything's gonna be reopening. Like, a lot of the firms that I talked to, everybody was in limbo. They didn't know, whether they, what kind of liabilities they had on construction sites, how they were going to do remote. And now we're all coming out of it. Talk about your firm and then we'll get into the electrical vehicle side of things. Just give us an idea of, kind of how you weathered the storm per se, over the last, 24 months, on that roller coaster, and, maybe some of the lessons learned, that you went through.
So, I mean, just a little history on Goldman Copeland. We've been around for 50 plus years, working primarily within serving the New York City area. We've also do work in Jersey, and we've have a broad spectrum of projects and work that we do, from healthcare to retail, and other just projects around municipal projects as well. And that diversity is what kind of kept us, I think, able to operate within the pandemic so well. We're not pigeonholed within a single sector or market, so we were able to
Mhm.
kind of move around and be able to be flexible with the conditions that we're in. The other component that we have is the energy sector that we have. Our firm has done millions of square feet of energy audits within the New York City area. We have a geothermal tool that's being used for assessing facilities for potential for using geothermal heating and heat pumps. So that was, that's another portion of what we do. And that flexibility and that diversity is what kind of allowed us to be able to pivot, when the pandemic kicked in. It was, what was it? I think it was March 13th, Friday the 13th was, I think, the last day I was in the office here.
Right.
And, I think, one of the guys was joking, saying, I guess we'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'm like, I'll be here Monday, don't worry. And then lo and behold, they shut down the city, I think the Tuesday or the Wednesday after. So, and then, and that's when we did what pretty much everyone else did, had to pivot and learn how to use virtual systems. Go to Zoom, Microsoft Teams, meetings like that. And one of the things that changed dynamically for us was that we had to be more actively communicating with our staff and communicating with, ourselves. We take it for granted when you're in the office and you kind of look around and see somebody, hey, I got, and kind of like flag them down, something jumps in your mind and you have that organic conversation. Now we have to actively be pursuing our staff, our partners, and just kind of staying in touch with everyone and making sure that we're moving forward and we're kind of, keeping in constant communication so that nothing gets falling through the gaps, from servicing our clients to meeting deadlines, and making sure the staff is, also doing well in their well-being. Right. That was the other big takeaway from the pandemic. I'm sure, you saw the same issues on your side, both personally and professionally, of like that isolation and making sure that yes, we're not all alone, and we're all kind of in this little situation together. So let's kind of lean on each other and kind of work our way through it. So, and it made us also reach out to our clients more. I feel like we were able to, get in touch with our clients and, for their own well-being, as well as making sure to let them know that, we're here to still service you, even though we're isolated in our bubbles. We're able to still perform and do what we need to, and meet your needs, take care of your wants, and be cognizant of what's going on, within your spaces and your buildings, whether it's new, laws for life safety issues that have to be met, or just systems that need to be, now's the time to go take a look at and upgrade while, you have a building that's empty. Maybe it's time to do that due diligence.
Well, listen, New York runs on steam. So being a mechanical engineer, with heating and everything else, it's it's a good place to be in the, in that center of energy. And, listen, New York's got a lot of power that they go through, the city itself.
Right.
So,
Yep.
you're right there basically, in the hub of it all. During that time, the 2 years, now we're, coming in, to 2022 and in the first quarter and so forth. Did you change any of your, you kept your clients, but as we came out of it, what types of things, as far as, new products or services, did you come out with anything, at your firm at all? Or
I think what the biggest takeaway we got from our resilience was of this whole pandemic was, we were one of the, few firms that did not have to reduce our workforce at all. We were able to maintain our entire workforce during the pandemic, because there was demand and we had so much work that we had to do, and our clients needed us to support them. So we were able to, thankfully, be able to get through the worst part of that, portion of it. And one of the biggest, I think, takeaways, like you said, is that we, like everyone else, in a sense, we were able to learn to pivot into a more hybrid situation, where even now we're not in the office full time. We come in part time, but we do about 3 days a week, minimum in the office. But we're still able to service everyone and take care of all of our clients' needs, and be able to hit job sites, go see, be on site, meet with our clients, walk the jobs that they want to see, address any issues that they have within their buildings and make sure that there's no, we can provide them whatever services that we need to in whatever issues they're coming up with as they transition. Because one of the things, everyone looked at the buildings differently. Do we need to reevaluate how space planning is for offices? Before the pandemic, it was people were very much about densification. Let's put as many people into one small space as possible, like sardine cans. Now transitioning into getting out of that mindset and seeing maybe, we want to be a little bit more hybrid. The other thing that we spent a lot of time investing in is when the pandemic kicked in, is how can we look at our systems, the HVAC system specifically, knowing that this is an airborne disease, what modifications we can offer or suggestions we can do to our clients to reinforce their existing systems with minimal impact, but provide the level of protection for the tenants that we knew were going to come back into that space at some point. This was not a permanent state of being. At some point, everyone's going to come back into Manhattan at some point to go in these spaces. But we're a little wiser now. We understand a little bit. We have to be more cognizant about, the air distribution systems, filtration, and what we can do to mitigate, propagation of, viruses and in the airborne space. We can't, obviously there's no foolproof way of stopping it, but we could definitely slow down or filter the air as much as possible to prevent the spread of viruses and bringing a better, cleaner working space for everyone.
Hey, listen, keeping everybody safe is, listen, that was probably one of the biggest things, any hurdles, is getting people to come back to the office. Whether you were hybrid, depending on what state you're in, everybody had different rate. Like I'm down here in Georgia, it was completely different than it was in, up north, in some of the states, so, but everybody's kind of coming out of it. Some people are going back to the office, some are staying in. Right now in the country, we've got high gas prices. So let's talk about electric vehicles and charging stations and how your firm is getting involved with that whole electric scene. Just a disclaimer: I had sat in a Tesla on some trade show floors, but before COVID came. So, but I never been in one. So my son, he had an old 2005 Mer. He works for Boeing in Charleston, and he went to aircraft mechanic school. He's working on the line there. And anyway, his Mer was sucking down the gas. He's probably spending $600 in gas a month. So he looked at this Tesla. I'd never been in one. Oh my God, the car, Elon Musk, what a genius. The car is absolutely beautiful. Drives smooth. He thought about everything. The sensors, taking your hand off the wheel and letting the car drive. I mean, literally the dealer that he was a private dealer. So we were, on these back roads, and he said, you could actually program this car to drive you to the airport, and it'll drive itself back to your driveway and park itself. I mean, just the technology in itself, the car was unbelievable. And I told my son, I said, look, for the same amount of money you're spending gas on, you could have the electric car. And the biggest thing is just to know where, the charging stations are. And he said, the car itself will tell you where they are along your route, so you can quick charge. And there's adapters that you can put on the chargers and so forth. At Boeing, they have 4 charging stations. Even though there's a lot of people aren't driving electric, but they do have them. So that's my experience with electrical. And I still like listen, I still have my RX-8. It's stick, and it's no paddles, and some people don't even know how to drive stick anymore. I mean, I do, but
it's a dying art. That's for sure.
But if down the road, I told my son, I said, look, I would definitely buy a Tesla. At this point, the car was beautiful, and the battery life, as they perfect it, it'll become more and more, lengthy. And but let's talk about the electrical stations, because you're the electrical expert, and what the thought pattern is, with whether you're a hotel, or you're a healthcare facility, or you're a restaurant, in this commercial space, what they're thinking about as far as rolling this out, and helping people charge their cars while they're at a certain type of facility. That's my kind of thinking.
Yeah.
So that's why it's good timing, because everybody's talking about high gas prices. I don't know what they are in New York, but they were 4.29 here. And
Yeah, we're about 439, 440. You were about
yeah,
that neck of the
so
woods. So yeah.
we're probably, listen, out west California, they're probably higher,
Yep.
$7-8 depending on where you're at. And but I remember here in the 90s, gas was 88 cents, within a gallon of
Yeah.
gas. So
Yeah.
I've seen it all, and listen, you and I are the same age, like I said. So I remember the lines in 70s, when, we went off the gold standard and OPEC and, that whole scene. So I remember all that. And, now, gas is high, and, a lot of people have electric on their mind. Even the government, hey, go buy an electric vehicle. So,
Yeah.
so talk about that, and, what kind of aspirations your firm has into helping some of the, clients out there think about, hey, this isn't, I look at electric charging stations as an asset to any facility, because more and more people will go electric down the road,
Right.
in my own opinion, but there's still going to be petroleum, based cars for a while. So, tell us.
So I mean, I think you'll hit a lot of the points right there on the head, Dave. I mean, because let's look back before we can look ahead, right? 5-10 years ago, there were, electric cars here and there, hybrids, but it was nowhere near as prevalent or in popularity as it is now. And as here in New York, New York is the state and the city has been a leader in energy initiatives. Our firm has been one of those leaders in moving forward with as many of these energy initiatives and providing those services to our clients. And as part of that is that an energy initiative is electrification, the move toward green energy sources for everything, heating, cooling, and as far as that, and that's all in part toward the grander goal, reducing carbon emissions, throughout the country and throughout, for the planet. So to that end, one of the biggest things is your combustion engine. We all know that, the combustion engines put out a lot of emissions and are terrible for the environment. And case in point, during the pandemic, there's plenty of evidence showing that, there was the air quality drastically improved when everyone was at working from home because the cars were gone. Cars came back in. And now we have the air coming back to where it was pre-pandemic. So the proliferation of electric vehicles has been forthcoming, and I think we're at the precipice of a massive explosion of this, because all the stars are in alignment. We have this big initiatives moving forward with climate mobilization, carbon emission reduction, and this is just one piece of that puzzle. And it's become more of possible now with more private and public entities going on board, pushing it forward. You have municipalities who are subsidizing this, providing grants and incentives for these sort of things, which was a big driving factor here in the state of New York. Big proponents of doing that. So a lot of the initiatives and the push from a commercial and residential side comes from a lot of both the businesses as well as the municipalities and the energy service providers, your utility companies, providing all of these incentives to push that forward, giving rebates to incentivize the commercial owners to say, hey, put some charges into your space, and we can help you. It's a win-win. It's great. It's good for the environment. It's good for your building property, like you said, appreciation of it brings value to your property. Residential apartments, talking to clients who have, developers and owners of residential buildings, tenants who are moving in, one of the questions they ask is if the building has parking, do you have electrical vehicle charging in your building? Can I get it in the building? Are there provisions for that sort of thing? And it's just intrinsically what now building owners, developers are looking and saying we have to be cognizant of these things. Since we're in New York, we focus a lot on the existing properties, and that's where a lot of the need is, because a lot of folks already have buildings, they have parking lots, and so what can I do? All right, I want to get on this train with all of this EV stuff. I'm in. I want to be, I want to bring the value to my property and and meet the demands that are forthcoming in the next 10-15 years. what do we do? So we put together, our thought process was, for clients who were looking at it, saying, first is look at your property and assess the needs of the property. Who's your clientele within the property? Is residential, commercial? How often are they in the space? What the potential is as far as going into that space of being able to put those vehicles into your existing parking. And then once you've made that assessment, the next step is basically, okay, well, all right, I'm in. I want to do this. What's the next step? You have to secure, a professional to come in and evaluate your existing electrical infrastructure. It's electric. When they did the design and built these buildings, 50, 100 years ago, no one envisioned vehicles running on electrical power, or, demanding this much electricity, because there is a demand increase. There's going to be more power that's going to be required to come off of your existing service. So that's where professional would come in, such as myself, would come in and take a look at your existing system and say, all right, let's see what you have, let's see what you're using. What do you want to do? How many charges you want to do? What type of chargers? Do you want fast chargers? Do you guys want to, and that'll have an impact and dictate where and how, what mobility we can do. That takes us to the next step, which is basically the upgrade. What, if any, upgrade is needed? Is there an upfront cost as far as like, do I have to buy a whole new service equipment in the basement and change everything that I have, from scratch?
Yeah, your circuit board, who knows?
Yeah. Am I changing the whole, incoming? Do I have to go to the utility company and say, hey, can I get another 4,000 amps because I have to add all these chargers? Is it just simple as just popping in a couple breakers or a switch into an existing switchboard and being able to service these things? And then the other component of this, that as an owner, is like, well, okay, great, I get it. I'm going to put these things in. I'm going to save, some money on the upfront cost. What was a $20,000 per charger investment may only be 10 because I've gotten incentives and rebates, etc.
Yeah,
right?
The grant.
Right. So what's my ROI? That's the other thing. Every fiscal hawk that's in the building is going to say, how am I going to make my money back? They look at it in dollars per square foot, right? Every space is rented out. What's my dollars per square foot I can get out of it? Parking spots the same way. So a lot of folks use the charging stations based on the software, which is very open, depending on which charger you have there, whether it's not just Tesla, but like there's a variety of different chargers you have out there. You have, ChargePoint is the big one that is on the market. Tritium is another big name that is out there for the level 3 stuff. But those chargers you can dictate how you want to do with the utility rates, whether it's a charge that's at the charger itself for the end user when they charge their vehicle and they put their credit card info, or if it's something that's predetermined within, say, a lease agreement. If it's a residential building, oh yeah, we'll give you a space, but it's an extra $10 a month or whatever it is for that. So those are the kind of those are the things that we're looking at as we speak with these buildings and these folks to move forward with this initiative, because a lot of the manufacturers, GM, the Fords, by 2030, 2035, they're phasing out a lot of their combustion vehicles, and they're going to go more into the EV market. So it's not like we're going to be turning a light switch on and in 2023, half the cars on the road are going to be Teslas and, and electric vehicles. But we're going to wake up one day and, 50, 70% of the cars are going to be, electric vehicles, and there's going to be a demand to charge those vehicles,
Well, I look at the electrical charging stations. It's just like cell phones. When they first came out, if you were on a plane, there was no place to charge your phone. Now, If you get on a plane, every seat's got a charger. There's charging stations all over the place where you can plug in your laptop or your tablet or your phone. But those are small units we're talking about. Now, with the electrical, charge a vehicle, same concept, but just on a much bigger level, as far as space capacity, availability. I look at like the LIE. Look at all the people who are out on Long Island.
Yeah.
They park their car, they get on the LIE, that would be a perfect place that I'm thinking. I'm just off the top of my head.
Yep.
There would be a perfect opportunity. The LIE or those parking lot. I don't know who owns them. I guess maybe the county does or the state does, but it'd be a revenue producing thing. And maybe more people would know that, hey, I could charge my car while I'm gone. But once again, it all goes back to the planning. How am I going to get this done? Can the electrical grid handle it? All of these kind of things. But just like cell phones, when they came out, you had no place. Now you can always find a charger wherever you go, and it's always an asset. When my son, he sold his Mer, he didn't get the Tesla. He wanted a Ford, and a truck. And so we came in, so we looked at a couple cars, but every dealership that I went into, there was always a charging station for phones. It was amazing. It was just, hey, they all the dealerships, they make them, they're almost like hotels. They've got the restaurants, they want to make you feel at home when you're buying a big gig. So the electrical gig, just look at the amount of gas stations that are coming up. Like I have coming up on my cover in April, I've got the CEO of Stuckey's. They have 368, almost 400 locations, all over the country. Their travel stops. That'll be one of my questions. Will be, hey, how many of these do you have electrical, charging stations and so forth that are available? So you just think about the amount of gas stations that are out there, whether they're in Manhattan, or on the Turnpike or whatever. Eventually, they're all going to, have them. And the fast charging is the biggest thing, because you don't want to sit there for 2 or 3 hours. You want to get charged, just like a cell phone. You get your cell phone charged in, 5 or 10 minutes. So those types of initiatives or products, they're not out of the realm. They're being developed now or better every day, right?
Yeah. So I mean, we have a lot of chargers that are out there. They break, without going into too much detail, they have, you have level 2 and level 3 chargers. The level 3 are the ones that the fast chargers charge your car up within like 30 minutes or whatever. The level 2s, depending on where you are, and like if you're like me and drive the tank down to empty, until the light comes on, then you're plugged up and you're in there for a few hours before you get to like halfway or 3/4 of the way. And and this is something that is going to be going forward with commuters, as more and more people are going back to work and commuting, especially with a hybrid schedule. It becomes, some folks look at it and say, I don't see a value in me, going in, on the train. I'll drive in. But then, you know what? You could just, if you're going to drive in your car, you want to be able to charge it while you're sitting there waiting. You come in, charge your car, you can leave while you're in the office, so that way, just in case if you forget to do it overnight or what have you. So but you pointed out the gas station thing. That's the infrastructure bill that's been that's being passed through the Biden administration. It's big. I think it was like $1 billion incentive put in there for infrastructure for EV, and that was exactly the intent, was where the money would go down on a state level and the states would allocate it according to how they saw fit to build these highway systems so that they can have charging stations as prevalent as gas stations are. Like your son has said with a Tesla, when you put in a route in there, it tells you exactly the route and how to get there with the stops that you have to make for charging built into it. So the more charging locations you have there, the more way the crow flies, so to speak, you can do with an EV vehicle when you're going on a road trip to, say, New York to Massachusetts or DC or something like that, right? So and then it could be just simply, all right, well, I can just pull off like I'm charging up a vehicle, gassing up a vehicle. You can plug it up, charge, go grab McDonald's or something. Yep, hang out, and stretch out the legs, and then boom, you got a little charge, and you're off to the road again until the next stop. So
yeah, so from Atlanta to Charleston, it's about a 3.5, 4 hour ride. So the Tesla only got 210 miles, I think, for a full battery charge. And they always tell you, don't charge the battery at full. There's all these things that the Tesla does that, whether you're, when you charge it, if you're on it, I mean, it's amazing. Like I said, Elon Musk, he thought about everything, even the air filtration, not to get off the electrical, but if there was a nuclear attack, you could be inside the Tesla and the air filtration system is so good in that car, you'd be safe in there.
I'll bet.
If you were far enough away from the blast, you still wouldn't get contaminated. Now getting out, that's a whole nother story, but I mean, just the stuff, it was mind blowing.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't be able to he would have to stop someplace to charge the car to get here. He might be rolling in, to Atlanta. Now on his truck, he gets 470 miles, I think, to a tank. So he's going to make it there and back, whatever. But, that was one of the things when we were thinking about it was, hey, you're making the investment, you're transferring the gas to buy the electric vehicle, and then you would have an asset after it's paid off. And by then, the battery life, I think, was guaranteed for 10 years, the warranty on it.
Right. That's right.
Sounds about right. So, and that's going to be coming longer too as they improve the technology. So, I have a Harley, Road King, 2003 anniversary, 100-year anniversary. Now, if it was electric, I'd still ride it, I never thought I would say that, but I would still ride it, because it's still a Harley. So, and look, I think it takes 3.5 gallons of gas, I'm probably not, but the same issue, how am I, if I was on a bike, how far am I going to go on that electric bike? Where would all of these things. And, but just like the cell phones, like I said, before there were no chargers, now there's chargers everywhere. The same thing is going to happen with electric. And if anybody you out there in commercial construction coffee talk have not been in an electric vehicle, I don't care if it's a Tesla, Ford has them, GM. I mean,
everyone's got them now. Yeah.
Everybody's got them. And if you haven't been in one, it's an admit, but I'm telling you, the Tesla, you got to go and test drive one thing. It'll blow you away. And the sound system in there, it's quiet. It's the car we were getting this. We drove it. We were going to buy the sedan, and it was really sleek and it was amazing. And
yeah, I know. Yeah, it's definitely a sweet car. I've been in a few of them myself. It's like a spaceship, man. It's something out of this world. It really is. And and a lot of the I think you hit it on the head. Elon started Tesla started this trend, and I don't know if you watched the Super Bowl this past, a lot of cars that are EV cars on those Super Bowl commercials, a lot of folks investing money, they're putting big bets on this. So it's happening, it's going to happen. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to be able to, especially with our clients in our sector here, be able to let them, provide them the service and let them know, hey, listen, this is going to happen. I know there's concerns because, the average guy is going to be like, well, that doesn't make sense. I've got power to power a building. Now I'm supposed to be putting 10, 15 cars. That's going to be more power. Do I have power? Do I have capacity? Well, yeah, because there's trade-offs, for how the vehicles charge and what's in the building, and what's going to go, and how you have as systems get more energy efficient and you have other on-site renewable energies that are being put in play into the buildings, there's going to be a balancing act that comes in there. Now, we're not saying that there's no, in every scenario that we're going to have every building, it's going to be no upgrade whatsoever. But, that's why we want to we go in and take a look and see the best opportunities for the end user, the client, because it's looking at day one, how many I can do here, and then looking forward to the future. But it's not like 5 years, it's 10, 15 years from now, when we know this slow growth opportunity that you're going to slow roll these chargers into each of these buildings to build into the demand. And the cost to do the upgrade now is worthwhile in the future.
What, there aren't that many gas stations in New York. I mean, in the city, it's not like there aren't that many gas stations. So having more chargers is inevitable. Whether you're at a hotel or a building or a residential building or a mixed use, I mean, it's inevitable that they'll have more charging stations than they will have gas pumps. It's just the nature of the beast. Now, as you get out there, that's a whole nother question. But inevitably, it's going to come to a fruition. I drive an F-150. They have one that's got the generator.
So you're not on board on the EV train yet, huh?
Well, no,
you got the Harley and the F-150.
Well, my F-150 is paid off, you know. So,
Yeah.
but they have an F-150 that's called the Lightning. Now
Right.
you can get it at like 50 some odd thousand. The top line Larry at $90,000, but it's got a generator on it. You can power your house if the power goes out.
Right.
So last night I just saw a Lightning. The Atlanta Auto Show is coming into Atlanta. I think it's this weekend or maybe not. But they had the Lightning portrayed. The Ford ran a commercial, Ford Lightning, and you know that was the first one of the commercials. But you know I've seen it on the show floor. You can't find them. Number one, because there's a chip shortage gig, but all the auto manufacturers are dealing with it. But they all have them. And my son said, you know, Dad, with all the rebates and everything else, that truck wouldn't even cost you anything in the first year. So, you know, there's a lot of things that you know, so, but like myself, I don't want to be one of the first ones to buy the electric vehicle. I want it to be around for a year or two, let them work the kinks out.
Right.
And then buy it. You know, it's always great to be the first one to have it, but then the recalls come in and listen, that's just the nature of the beast. You can design as much, but there's always going to be something that's going to come up. So I'd rather let them figure out the kinks before I make that major purchase.
And we're going through that learning curve right now, right? I mean, like that's some of the folks that we're working with now, you know, as we look at properties and saying, you know, how we're going to, you know, make these changes. And then we also know right now there's supply chain issues globally, you know, part of which is like, you know, how are we going to build these batteries and supply all these batteries and you know, and we're going to get through all of these things as they come up. But, you know, it's good to be looking at these things now and looking forward and planning for it ahead of time. For sure.
If you were going to leave our audience on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk with one positive thought or phrase, what would it be?
Well, you know, listen, after the last 2 years, that's a low bar to hit, right?
Yeah.
it's pretty, I think it's been a pretty rough, good years, but I think if anything, we could say, you know, my personal takeaway from the past 2 years is that don't take for granted, you know, the relationships you have, personal, friends, business, you know, just, you know, human connection is such a vital thing. And, you know, and we shouldn't take for granted even the smallest things that we do, you know, just hanging out, having a little, how you doing? How's your day going? It may, you know, it may not mean much to you, but I can guarantee you somebody else, it probably means the world to them, you know? So that's probably my, you know, my takeaway from this whole thing in the last 2 years. And I feel good about, you know, after coming through this, I think all of us are more optimistic in general as a group, you know, as a whole.
Yeah, hey, listen, I'm totally with you there. It's all the little things you take for granted can totally make your day, that you take, you know, before this whole thing hit, that you wouldn't even think about. Now that it can make your day. Just a little thing by saying hello or getting a fist bump or any of that kind of stuff. So
smile on the face.
Yeah, you know, keep smiling.
Goes a long way.
The glass is definitely half full. It's not half empty. It's going to be partly sunny, not partly cloudy, and the sun's going to rise tomorrow. You know,
that's right. Absolutely.
So if anybody out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk Land wanted to touch base with you, you know, about electric, you know, EV charging stations, or, you know, just, you know, MEP in general, how would they reach out to you?
Best way, go to our website, goldmancopeland.com. All our contact info is there, you know, to reach out to us. And, you know, I mean, tip of the iceberg is kind of what we kind of went through here. We're just scratching the surface of a very deep ocean of possibilities and opportunities here, that, you know, give me any more time and I'm going to just keep talking about it. So that's so you can reach out to us there. That's the best way to get in touch with us.
All right. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, I'm at davidc@ccr-mag.com. We're always looking for stuff. So I know you've heard it a million times. If you don't buy a lottery ticket, you can't win. So if you don't send me something, I can't find you a place in the magazine or on social media or up on the website. You know, we got millions of people hitting the site consuming content. So we'd love to hear from you. You got a cool project? Send it to me. I'll find a spot for it. So, you know, the day I stop learning is the day I should go do something else. So, you know, for sure, hit the subscribe button. We'll send it out the magazine, and hopefully, you know, who knows, you know, I never know where anything is going to end up until I see the layout. So, but we're always looking for stuff. So send me some stuff. We look at everything, just like Google. We look at everything. So, Well, this has been great. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Hartford
Likewise.
Whaler, University of Hartford, unbelievable. Kevin Deneen, fraternity brother. It's that's where he played. Flyers, Hartford. I forget who else he played for, but anyway.
Yeah.
Teammate
Yeah.
and a fraternity brother, and so anyway, it's been an enjoyable conversation. Listen, enjoy the rest of St. Patrick Day up in the Big Apple.
Will
Really
do.
appreciate you finding the time in your busy day, and enjoy the weekend ahead, and best of success. And listen, say goodbye from the Big Apple to our listeners out there.
Bye, everyone. Go ahead. Happy St. Patty's Day for everyone out there.
All right, and I'm going to say goodbye from Sugar Hill, just below the Buford Dam up in Lake Lanier, and everybody out there, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Hey, it's March Madness. Going to finish up. Enjoy the tournament, and have a great Q2 and the rest of the year. Summer will be here before you know it. And safe travels out there. Everybody's getting out to the shows and seeing everybody. And, the light finally is at the end of the tunnel. I think so. So with that said, I'm signing off here from the ATL. Thank you so much, V, for, being our guest. And
it's been a pleasure, man.
And we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. And I'm going to see you in person here. Shake your hand and show me one of those charges you're putting in New York. All right.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
Take care.
See ya.